Okay, I am discussing the reading LGBT themed literature with young people what's possible. Um, I'm basically just going to outline this article and I'll just throw in how I feel as I'm reading it. So it starts out as talking about two different kinds of students that go into reading, or go into classrooms that are talking about LGBT themed books. It talks about the student that is all for reading these kinds of books and they want to learn about homophobia and they want to learn about how to stop it and make the world a great place, and then there are the students who think that teachers should be apolitical and that they should be neutral in talking about these kinds of things and that these themes don't belong in the classroom and they want nothing to do with it. So then it talks about, this article basically looks at three different classrooms, the elementary, middle, and high school level. And they're all dealing with the same kinds of themed books, except obviously like the elementary level is a picture book and then the higher grades are higher level books. And it talks about how these readings are troubling in these classrooms because children who are LGBT students are having problems assimilating with the literature in the classroom, and you'll see why when I continue explaining. So basically the teachers in these classrooms are assuming that everyone in their class reading about these themes are straight, and most of the time they are trying to teach these from a homophobic standpoint, assuming that all their students are homophobic and encouraging that kind of viewpoint, which clearly is wrong. Sorry, this keeps going dark. Teachers should not be, later it discussed that teachers should not be doing that. I mean, teachers should be looking at these groups and saying, okay, all of these students are either LGBTQ students or they are allies or potential allies of these kinds of students. And then it also talks about how in the classroom these teachers were, or students in these classrooms were feeling like in the group discussions that they had to pretend that they were homophobic also because it fit the lesson, and they were afraid to show, what am I trying to say? Basically, they were looking into these books. You can either look into these books as a mirror or a window. So you can either look it into as a mirror, as you're seeing yourself, you're a gay person reading this book, and you're seeing yourself reflected in the book. Or you are a straight person reading about a gay person, and you are looking into a window into another person's life. Neither of these views are wrong. But as a gay student looking at it as a mirror, he was having to discuss it in his classroom as if he was using a window into someone else's life. And it says that he asked in the classroom, is this book about faggots? I mean, that is so sad that he is a gay person and he's having to portray this negative view about gay people in his own classroom discussion where he should feel safe to say whatever he wants. And obviously he hadn't come out to his classroom or to his peers yet, so no one knew that he was gay, but I think that is just so wrong. That is probably, honestly, that's why that these kinds of books are getting banned in classrooms, because teachers don't think that anyone is ready to handle it, and that all these students are straight, and they're gonna turn gay by reading these books. But honestly, and this gets into the political situation, but I think that you're either born gay or you're not. That's just my personal opinion, and most of these people reading these books, a lot of them, especially by high school, they already know if they're gay or not. So, especially coming onto these books from a homophobic standpoint is clearly not a good way to teach the books. It's not creating a cohesive environment in your classroom at all. Okay, this next part talks about the mirror and the window. And then teachers are just bringing up these homophobic beliefs, but they're not challenging it in any way to say, hey, you might think you're homophobic, but there are other ways to see these kinds of views, and it's not okay to be homophobic. They're actually encouraging this kind of thing. It also talks about how teachers are looking at these or reading these themes just once in the entire year, or even in your entire K through 12 experience. I know personally I never read a book like this. So if one of your teachers um, in your entire K through 12 experience, only one of them talks about this kind of themed book, you're going to think it's not part of the norm of your curriculum. So if you were to discuss this kind of a book every year or multiple times every year, you would become more of a norm, and there would be less of a homophobic stance, I feel like, on these kinds of issues. Talks about more of multiple readings. And then the last thing this article talks about is 3 different kinds of LGBTQ books that you can have. There's the homosexual visibility, which students, there's a single character and they come out as being gay in the story, or there is the gay assimilation, which it shows a gay person, but it shows them just the same as everyone else, except that they happen to be gay. Or there's the queer conscious community, which I don't remember the definition of this one. It says it emphasizes community over consciousness. QC books portray multiple LGBTQ characters within supportive communities and families, including families of their own making. And I was just thinking about our openly straight book. I was assuming that this book kind of sounded like a homosexual visibility book and a queer conscious community book. Kind of a mixture of both of them. But the article just kind of says that your students should get a glimpse at all 3 of these kinds of books, and you do this by reading multiple LGBTQ books, and not just covering it once in your K-12 experience. But that's basically what this article is about. I just think it's so sad that these books are being banned, and honestly they're probably being banned because of the way the teachers are teaching the books, and they're teaching children to be homophobic and that that's okay. But if you're teaching this thing multiple times a year, making it part of the norm, giving students tools on either how to cope with being gay or how to cope with being homophobic and change your views, teachers don't have to come off as, you're homophobic and that's okay. They can try to change students' views on it. I think that less books would be banned if teachers did do that. That's all I have to say. Thanks.